Yin and Yang. For every Dying Light 2, there is CrossfireX. For every Elden Ring, there is Babylon's Fall. Wherever light is cast, it creates a shadow. To the PlayStation fans who laughed at Xbox players for having CrossfireX on their platform, your time has arrived. Today, we talk about Babylon's Fall coming exclusively to PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and PC. This game hails from Platinum Games. I don't talk about them much on the channel because they're not typically relevant to the content, but for those who don't know, I'm a little bit of a Platinum Games fanboy. I adore Astral Chain and Nier Automata more than I think most people out there. I know Nier Automata is like widely celebrated, but Astral Chain I don't think gets nearly enough credit. This cyber cop beat 'em up, amazing music, a solid story, such a great game just trapped on the Switch that more people need to experience. But Platinum Games make some of the best, most silky smooth action games available. Vanquish, Bayonetta, when they got a decent budget, they're at the top of their game. Now, I mentioned Nier Automata, and that was made in partnership with Yoko Taro and Square Enix. Now, it looked like Square Enix was a good partner for Platinum Games, so I was actually quite excited when years ago, Babylon's Fall was announced at a Square Enix showcase during E3, because my thought process was that name alone really starts to scratch the post-apocalyptic itch that I got. And we're talking about Platinum Games making something like that, a brand new IP. Sign me up, because I want that silky smooth combat in a post-apocalyptic environment, a nice single-player game. None of that is here! None of it at all! Oh my god, this game! Wow! We are on such a roller coaster lately. Like, I thought Dying Light 2 was phenomenal, then I hit CrossfireX, then I got Elden Ring at the top of the mountain, and now I am diving off the top of the mountain without a parachute, and I'm crashing and burning with Babylon's Fall. Oh my gosh. Square Enix, let me just say this if you're watching this. Love your JRPGs, love a lot of your single player efforts, but please bow out of the service genre. Marvel Avengers sucks, okay? Babylon's Fall also sucks. If you didn't repair Avengers, I have no idea how you ever plan on fixing this game. Ladies and gentlemen, I've delayed long enough. Let's get into Babylon's Fall. Wait. Did I say let's get into Babylon's Fall? Wrong. You sign up for a Square Enix account first, because this game was made in like 2014 apparently, where you had to do this type of stuff. You had to make an account and sign in. Right, so anyway, you finally sign up. For me, I actually got the wrong confirmation code somehow from Square Enix, so I had to sign up on another email. I don't know how that actually happens. It's the only time it's ever happened in my life. But once you get through that, you are met with the character creator, and it's there the problems begin. Because I looked at the character model, I went, no way. Now, I clearly have performance mode on or something like that. There's no way that this looks like a early PS3 game. Like, when you zoom in on the hair, you're like, what the fuck is this, man? This game is well and truly ugly. So then you get through the character creator, you start it up and you go, are the textures loading in? This is the first time I can actually well and truly recall that an art style has betrayed a game so badly. Because Babylon's Fall is trying to look almost like a watercolor painting, if you will, but it just looks smudged everywhere. Character models look hideous, and the world detail, it's not like there's an exchange there where, because this game is so action heavy, it doesn't really matter how your character looks because you're going to see the pretty sights beyond it. Everything in this game looks rubbish. Terrible. I mean, look, seeing is believing. You can see for yourself here, this game looks like a PS3 title. Because I remember back in those days, I always wondered, you know, when I was a teenager, right, and I didn't know much about technology, if the images would ever clean up. Because the 360 games, the PS3 games, as much as I love them, there was never a crisp, clear, high-res image most times, right? Say games like The Last of Us 1 withstanding. Wasn't always crispy clean. There was smudges everywhere. And as the generation progressed into PS4 and Xbox One, things got cleaned up a bit. So for this to be on PlayStation 5, mind you, where I played it, and it looks like this is a damn atrocity. But look, we're talking Platinum Games. They're not the best storytellers, but I think with games like Nier Automata with Yoko Taro, they learned some things. And Astral Chain story was pretty good. So I'm not going to count them out on a story front anymore. They've shown they have the potential, in my opinion, with Astral Chain. So moving into Babylon's Fall, let's start off with that. And of course, we'll get into the gameplay afterwards, where they are the superstar in that genre. So on the story front, it's quite simple. You receive powers through what's called a Gideon coffin in the beginning of the game, and you become a sentinel, unwillingly, mind you. This is done to ascend the remaining ziggurat tower, which had appeared after the Babylonians had perished. So now, as you become a sentinel, you're going to team up with other sentinels, go on missions to climb all of these towers. As you're experiencing this story, you're going to see some of the most god-awful cutscenes I've seen in a while. Like, I think CrossfireX, for all it had wrong, at least it had motion captured cutscenes that didn't look like dog doo-doo. What is this freeze frame animation stuff where, like, you see an arm lift, a couple lines of dialogue go, then it goes back down? It's weird and awkward. And mind you, you're probably looking at this going, well, it's a free-to-play title, right? It's a service game. They're charging you $60 fucking for it. For this. Look at these cutscenes. This is what they're charging you for. This is so sadly low budget. I can't fully blame Platinum on some levels. On design, I absolutely can. But you can just tell they were given such little money to work with here. And Square Enix or whoever else was providing the bag was going, well, make us a service title and print some money, because that's all you're getting. They were absolutely spread thin here, because these cutscenes are abysmal. Because when you're not experiencing these freeze frame cutscenes, we'll call them, you do have a couple of full in motion ones, and then you do have some where everyone's just standing in place and you're tabbing through text boxes. It's like they have 3 different styles that they built the systems for, and they're like, which ones are we going to use? Which one saves us the most money? And so they just mix and match with those, and it doesn't create anything interesting per se, anything thematically in sync. Like, for example, when they're doing the freeze frame cutscenes, it's because they zoom in on a painting. So you can kind of get the idea maybe that they're trying there, like you're watching a painting in motion, but it just doesn't work. Same thing with the art style. Like, okay, maybe we're looking at a painting. That's why they're going for the watercolor feel here. But it just doesn't work. It looks bad. That's all there is to it, because that's what an art style is. Seeing. And that's what animation is. Seeing. And I'm seeing nothing but bad here. Now, while I am ranting about the story, I do want to say that Babylon's Fall, at least on the Japanese side, I should have tested the English side now that I think about it, but the Japanese side of the voice acting is good. Like, there were no problems there. It was nice. It was intense. In battle, it sounded awesome. Characters felt well reprised by their roles. I enjoyed what I was hearing in Babylon's Fall, which makes it all the more a shame. But we got to get into the gameplay. We've delayed long enough. I want to make sure I fill you all in on the story gaps, because I think it really emphasizes the budget issues this game has. But I think the gameplay does a lot of that. So if you're like me and you've played a lot of Platinum games before, you know there's a feel, there's a speed, a momentum that carries you through every single battle in these games. And as you complete these battles, like in Vanquish or Bayonetta, you get a nice ranking on the side of the screen. You're like, oh man, I got a nice SSS plus. Like, that felt really dang good. And this game tries to do that, right? It tries to give you the rankings after each chapter, which is effectively a battle. But this combat has you so glued to the ground, I can scarcely believe this is Platinum Games. And this is where you can, I feel, truly blame them. Because on a design front and a feel front, this game, even mechanically speaking, is terrible. Platinum Games are known for being so elegant, like you're performing a dance on the battlefield. And this is nothing more than your first tap dance lesson, if you will, as you're stumbling all over the stage like, how the hell do I move my feet? This game has weights tied to your ankle. Even the dodge roll looks terrible, man. You barely cover any distance whatsoever. Now, what is an interesting idea that I don't think is executed well is you're given 4 weapons at once. You have a light attack and a heavy attack on the face button, square, and triangle, and you have the left trigger and the right trigger, right? Okay, sounds pretty good, because now you can really mix and match some combos, right? But what it turns into when you have your 4 weapons and then 3 other players join you for a total of 16 weapons just flying around in an orgy of metal and edges, suddenly you can't tell what the hell's going on. It's way too chaotic. So all I did was brain off, hit the buttons, okay, dead. And what sucks especially is some of these enemies are spongy. This is a problem that if you watched any of my Mutants in Manhattan's videos, I made 2 of them because that game really bothered me that much. That also came from Platinum Games. And there was a strong issue on the balance front there where the way things mathed out, you just didn't do enough damage. So enemies are super spongy. They put you on your ass constantly. It took you a long time to get up. And when you finally got up, you get knocked back down. You're like, this combat has no rhythm. It's the same tune being played here. It's so disappointing because the idea of having 4 weapons sounds cool on paper, but the way it's executed is just messy. And they're like, yeah, these enemies, pump them up with health. Everyone's going to hit away at them. And no one really feels powerful. You don't feel like you've truly overcome something. You just feel like there's a mess on screen and something in there is happening. You're just not quite sure what as you watch the health bar slowly whittle down. But even if the enemies weren't so spongy, this is becoming a commonality in some of these games. If you watch my CrossfireX review, the AI is unresponsive at times. Like, it's just standing there, hardly attacking you. So what this leads to is you practically beating up on training dummies because they have a ton of health and they don't fight back. So you're not dodging anything, so you're just hitting a ton of buttons and they're just hoping you're dumb enough to not care. And if you noticed, like, I typically give games that try new things a reasonable pass, right? I'm like, okay, you've tried some things. I'm still going to be critical of you, but like, I appreciate the effort here. But just like CrossfireX, I really do think this is a scenario where they assume the player is stupid and that you won't care. And I think that is the worst thing a developer can do, is just hope that they can get one over on the player, because I think it's insulting. This is an art. This is a medium that should be respected, not something that you treat the player like they're stupid and go, well, we're going to do these little math tricks here so that they feel like they're doing something when they're not. All this is held in excruciatingly narrow locales. We're going to run from one alleyway to the next with blue spikes in there that you're going to jump over, and the occasional grapple where you just press the circle button when prompted and it'll bring you over there. So there's really no traversal that's interesting as well. You're going to get your loot from these enemies you kill, which allows you to raise your character's power, and then you dive back into a mission and keep going. Hey, does this sound familiar for you long-time Mr. Matty viewers? What was the last game that I literally stomped my foot and banged my head as I was going on about it? Do you know? I'll tell you. Godfall! God damn it all! Fuck! Not this game again! That's literally what this is. This is Godfall 2.0. That's what I'm trying to build up to here. Babylon's Fall is literally Godfall again, from a story level of just non-involvement to a gameplay system that's trying to be fast and flashy, but it's so weighted to the ground and enemies are so spongy that it feels terrible. I mean, if I could ever say a game was well and truly dead on arrival, it's Godfall. And this game mirrors everything that title had for it. The only difference, though, is Godfall was promoted a lot, right? There was a lot of belief in Godfall, I guess. They were trying to push it like this is going to be the looter slasher. This game didn't get any marketing, so I can only imagine the fate it will sadly receive eventually. So with that, speaking of Godfall, monetization, let's talk about that. Yes, this game does have monetization. There is a battle pass. There is a premium currency called Garage, which you can use to buy a matter of cosmetics. There aren't any microtransactions in this game that affect player performance. It's all cosmetics, but the overall layout of the mission design, monetization, scaled down visuals, and bare bones simplicity of its gameplay systems just makes this game feel like it's a mobile title that was then ported up to consoles. If this were free to play even, I would have a lot of complaints, but of course, price determines a lot of your level of complaints. You're like, well, in the case of a free to play game, I'm not really paying much for this. But for me, this doesn't seem like a justified price tag of $60 where I'm like, okay, I can see why they wanted me to pay for this, because everything here is just simply bare bones. And this isn't even a situation kind of like what I talked about with Deathloop, where I went, this game is okay, but everything before it is much better. Like, I don't even think Godfall is good. I don't think it has many redeemable qualities, especially again, if you consider them charging you $60. It's kind of absurd. So this is a game that, mind you, this was the demo. This was the demo. This is a multi-hour demo with the full release coming in just a couple of days. But just like when I said with the Marvel's Avengers beta, when I played that, I'm like, this is exactly what I feared when I started to hear the chitter chatter pick up. You know, again, I was on media blackout for this game, so I wasn't really up to my ears in coverage and trailers. I was just like, all right, let's see what's going on here. Oh, service title? Okay, we'll give it a shot. Well, that went horribly. So this is a game that I'm telling you now, when it releases, stay far away. Stay far away and let it just quietly go to bed, and hopefully Platinum Games picks up another single player project, or maybe a co-op game that isn't as low budget as this, with much better ideas at the forefront, because this game was just boring, ugly, uninteresting. And granted, we're in a post Elden Ring world where I know everyone's like, oh my God, this game. And I completely agree. I think Elden Ring is incredible. But Elden Ring aside, like, this game just, again, isn't good. If you don't believe me, you can download the demo on PlayStation. You can go ahead and have fun, see what it's all about. But I would recommend you don't. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I've got to say here on Babylon's Fall. Really disappointing entry here from Platinum Games. Just a up and down studio. No wonder they've lately been talking about, like, hey, Microsoft, let's work together. Oh, hey, we are open to being purchased. Why not, right? Just as long as we have our freedom. Yeah, because I think a crash and burn is coming really soon, and they could use the monetary help. This game really speaks to that situation entirely. So let me know what you think of Babylon's Fall in the comments down below. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. And a big thank you to all the patrons, all the members who support the content here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.